Rule doesn't like to make splash coaching hires, but it feels like every time a new guy comes in, fans end up extra hyped. First, it was John Butler, who'd been a Big Ten DC and spent years in the NFL. Then it was Dana Holgorsen off a 13-year head coaching run. Last week, he added Terry Braden from the Kansas City Chiefs, and now they're about to bring on the defensive coordinator from UCF to lead the secondary. But even more important than the coaches are the guys that got to make the plays. So today we'll talk about transfer portal recruiting. I'll go through some recent visitors, and then I'll talk about what Addison Williams means for Nebraska. But what's up, guys? I'm Connor Hayden, and this is Crazed. If you're a fan of Nebraska or the Big Ten, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss my bowl game preview video. And if you think Rule's 2025 staff's going to be better than his 2024, hit the like button and help us get to 1,000. But now, let's get into it.
Cornhuskers up there. Underneath. Caught. Touchdown, Nebraska.
I just finished editing this video that you're watching right now, and before I hit export, I opened up Twitter and saw the news that Dante Dowdell, Nebraska's leading running back from 2024, who I think had 140 carries for 600-something yards and 12 touchdowns, decided to hit the portal on this Monday evening around 7 o'clock in Nebraska, I guess. Crazy news, given the fact that he came 1 year ago, expected to be their leading back for the next few seasons, and obviously things didn't work out with now Dana Holgorsen taking over the offense. What's so interesting is, first off, there's going to be a reaction where people think, from the outside at least, that this is some surprising news and Dante Dowdell was the leading back. Why would he go anywhere? But the reality is, Dana Holgorsen has a different style of offense. Dana Holgorsen is going to utilize a running back like Emmett Johnson a little bit more often than what Dante would be happy with at this point. And it makes sense that he would go into the portal to find a school who better fits his skill set. You know, people talked about Lacey from Missouri entering the portal and thought, well, maybe Nebraska's going to get him. But then I saw just now in the last 5 minutes that Ole Miss actually landed him already. So Nebraska's going to have to go to the portal to get another back. I'm assuming they're going to find someone who's a little bit more finesse, a little bit quicker, less big body, bulky, someone who's not as downhill, and a guy who's got better hands and can make plays out of the backfield. Someone like an Emmett Johnson. So we'll see what Nebraska decides to do there, but I'm not concerned about this loss. It's unfortunate because I really did enjoy watching him play, but it makes sense for the team and for himself. I'm guessing that in bowl practices, he saw where things were going and that Holgorsen obviously liked a different skill set better than his, and it was time to leave. So better now than to wait until after the season when schools don't need the backs because they already filled their spots. So good luck, Dante. I enjoyed him while he was at Nebraska, but this made sense for both teams, both parties. I woke up to the news that the season opener with Cincinnati officially got moved to Arrowhead Stadium, which is huge for Nebraska, but really dumb for Cincy. They were supposed to play in Indianapolis, which is only 2 hours from their campus, but to maximize the money they're going to make from their own home game, the AD must have thought it was best to get closer to Lincoln so Nebraska fans could sell it out. And I guess that's a good move financially, but now you're giving the road team home field advantage when they're already coming in with the talent edge. But it'll make for a really hyped matchup since we're going to get a Thursday night season opener in an NFL stadium. Now, I don't know if I'm going to go to this one, but it's a pretty easy trip, so I can wait up until the last minute to plan. There's all this talk around NIL needing more structure, and Mekhi Bayer's the perfect example as to why it's gotten out of hand. He played well this season and finished with 49 tackles, 6 for loss, and a sack, but he wasn't such a hot name that he could go to a better school and get the same opportunity to start. So along comes Missouri, a decent team, but honestly, not much better than Nebraska in terms of getting to the NFL. Mekhi didn't leave because he was following his coach to the next school. He didn't leave because he wanted to play for a championship contender. And he definitely didn't leave because he thought he could get more playing time somewhere else. He left because he wanted more money than Nebraska was willing to pay. And in an era where there's no salary cap, teams are going to overpay when they're desperate to reload with a Power 4 starter. Now, I'm only using him as an example because I think every other player who left Nebraska was either following a coach, looking for a better opportunity, or they wanted a better chance to compete for a championship. But it's just another reminder that somebody needs to step in and implement a salary cap or contracts, vet minimums, something to help keep these rosters together. Nebraska's about to finalize their deal with the new defensive backs coach. So I want to give you my thoughts on what he brings to the table. But first, I got to shout out today's sponsor, Prize Picks. We've had almost 500 Corn Crazed subscribers join us on the app, and this week they're giving us another free winner in Nikola Jokic to score 1 point on Christmas Day. I've won over $400 this month using Prize Picks promos for Patrick Mahomes, Puka Nacua, Karl Anthony Towns, and Tristan Jerry. So I've had action on pretty much every sport. But if you haven't signed up on the app yet, you can create an account with our promo code CORN and get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. And there's no catch to that. You just play one $5 lineup and you automatically get the $50 just for using our code. They don't have the Nebraska lines listed for the bowl game yet, but as soon as they do, I'm going to show you my favorite ones. Prize Picks is available in Nebraska, California, Texas, and over 30 other states. So if you see your state colored in, you can play on the app. I give out my picks in our Corn Crazed Discord group, but if you have a good read for which players are about to have a big game or you think somebody's going to struggle, you can use our code and join us over there. Getting back to the new secondary coach, it sounds like it's going to be UCF's former defensive coordinator, Addison Williams, which gets me pumped for a couple reasons. And the first is because he's got plenty of experience. We led with the fact that he was a defensive coordinator these past 4 years, but before that, he spent a season with Coastal as their safeties coach, Auburn as an analyst, and Furman as the corners coach and the DC. You look back to where he started, and it was with Steve Spurrier on a top 10 South Carolina team. Fast forward, and he ended up with Jamie Chadwell winning 11 games at Liberty. Then Gus Malzahn, who's a former national champion head coach, mentored him for 5 seasons. Rules made a point that whoever he brings into the program needs to have a history of winning. If they're going to change the narrative, the losing mentality's got to go, and it starts with the position coaches. The other reason I'm excited is because Williams was relatively successful at UCF. During his first year in 2021, they improved 90 spots nationally in pass efficiency defense. In 2022, they ranked 5th nationally in red zone defense. And in 2023, UCF's defensive end finished first team All Big 12, while their linebacker made the second team. Add in the fact that they led the Big 12 in fewest passing yards allowed, and it should give you some confidence that Williams will have some solutions for a secondary that struggled this year at Nebraska. Now let's talk about some portal news, because I know people are excited to see who Nebraska adds over these next few weeks. And we're going to start with the receivers. The first guy on everybody's list was Dane Key, who made sense because his position coach reunited with Holgorsen. But now Ole Miss and Georgia want him, and I think it's going to be hard to get him to leave the SEC. Key's still supposed to visit this week, and there's a chance they get him, but I actually think it's more likely they end up with a guy like Eric Rivers from FIU. Rivers had 62 catches for almost 1,200 yards and 12 TDs, but even more impressive, he was named a third-team AP All-American this season. It's not going to be easy to get him since he's a top 10 receiver in the portal, and I know schools like Penn State want him, but his skill set's similar to Samori Toure. He can play underneath and rack up yards after the catch, but he's fast enough to beat guys over the top and looks like a legit deep threat. The other name to watch is Isaiah Hunter from Cal, who's visiting both Nebraska and Kansas State this week. Now, if they can land Hunter, who's a little more under the radar, then get Dane Key, Eric Rivers, or another top 10 playmaker who's a little more experienced, I think they'd be in good shape. But if you only get one of those three, they might have to wait a few weeks for another big name to hop in the portal. On the O-line, Nevada left tackle Isaiah World just visited yesterday, but Husker Online reported that he's going to cost at least $1 million for whatever team gets him. And I saw On3 said that there's a 45% chance he ends up at Nebraska, but their competition's Texas A&M and Oregon, so who knows how true that is. Another important position now that Bushini's gone is punter, and Jack McAllister from Washington is one of the top guys available. He started 3 years and had one of his best punts in the national championship game against Michigan. So he's no stranger to the Big Ten or pressure. Jack's been in the portal for a week now, and the only offer and the only visit he's posted about is Nebraska. So if I had to guess, that's going to be Foley's next punter. I saw Daniel Kalen announce that he's going to Virginia, which should be a great fit for him since the ACC is a step down in competition and he might be able to get on the field a little bit earlier. But now that he and Harburg are both out of the QB room, they got to find 2 replacements. Now, the first was Orange Lutheran QB TJ Lateef, but the second has to come from the transfer portal. Today, they're hosting a QB visitor from Purdue, who was the 29th ranked QB in the 2024 class, which was 21 spots higher than Daniel Kalen was. If Nebraska does land him, which I'm sure they will, he's got the inside track to earn him that backup QB job. But it's just another example of why high school recruiting isn't that big of a deal. They could potentially add a redshirt freshman quarterback who's basically a blank canvas. And although he wasn't going to stick around at Purdue with a coaching staff who doesn't know him, it doesn't mean he isn't fully capable of contributing for another Big Ten team. I've seen other sites say there are a lot more visitors, and I know plenty of guys are being offered by Nebraska. But until we hear that there's a legit chance they commit, I don't feel like there's much reason to talk about them. I think I'll plan on doing a live stream on Wednesday, and then on either Friday or Saturday, I'll get my Boston College game preview up. But for now, I want to know what you think. Does Addison Williams make sense as the DB's coach, or did you just assume Butler would keep that title? Will Nebraska land one of the 3 receivers we talked about today, or is the competition to get one of them too steep? And who are you most excited to see play in the bowl game? I think the offense should be fun to watch with more time under Dana, but seeing more young guys step up on defense gives us a look into the future. But that's all I've got for today. So until next time, thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Go Big Red.